Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. I thought I'd do something different apart from the project car because it happens to be -2 outside, so I thought I'd do something a little bit more indoors so I can stay warm, and I would like to do a bit more airsoft content on the channel. So today what I'm showing you is what I would take to a day or game day of airsoft skirmishing. By skirmishing I mean just your day where you have 30-40 minute games. Sometimes you have reload zones where you can go in and reload in between games. Sometimes you have 20-30 minute games. You get the point. So just a day of airsoft. Typically here is quite a slimmed down version. I used to take no ends of kit with me to airsoft sites. I think that's just a new airsoft sort of thing. I've been playing airsoft now on and off for about 6-7 years. So what we've got here is basically what I've slimmed it down to, what I'd like to run. I've got one rig over there that I'll get to in a little bit. You might have seen the video at the start of the year where I did my 2024 airsoft loadout video. I'll pop a link down below to that video. A few things have changed since then. Obviously the primary I've got now is a little different. I'll get into that, but I thought I'd show you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what I've got here is what I'd normally take to a game day. There is a few bits and bobs here that you'll probably notice if you've played airsoft a fair bit that won't be necessary. A few things, I guess, like patches. You don't need to take a multitude of different patches with you. I like to just take patches with me because sometimes I do a bit of patch trading, sometimes I'll swap out patches depending where I'm playing. Also have one here from the jail events there, and I like to run that when I'm playing there. And then I've got a few, you know, cool and quirky patches as well. Typically at the moment I've got 2 patches on there which are just match the rig, so there's that. Also, you don't need a chronograph to take with you. I just like to take one with me because I always get bit in the butt when I try and chrono for some reason, so I always take a chronograph with me, especially with MP9s and the gas blowback without the changed bolt in them. They can always sometimes vary in FPS depending on the day, the temperature, etc, etc. That's why I've got a multitude of different gases here, so I'll get into that in a little bit. So let me start off with the primary, because you're probably wondering from the last video, if you're here for airsoft, that I used to have a King Arms SPR. That's gone to a friend of mine. That's been sold on. I really wanted an MP9. I had a few bad cases where it's actually failed me a few times. That's why I wanted to have an MP9 again, but I messed around with HPA and everything like that. To cut it long story short, I tried to HPA Drum Mag 1, didn't know how to run HPA, bought a smaller tank, and then I finally went to go play and it didn't work. So I ended up selling the whole lot, buying an AEG. Then I realised I missed the MP9 because my mate bought the VMP1 by Vorsk that had just come out. Instantly wanted an MP9 again, so that's why I've got an MP9 and I don't have the SPR anymore. With the MP9, it is just standard internals. You get, obviously I've got the suppressor on there that comes with the MP9 if you're lucky. Then I've got a torch mounted to a pressure plate on there. And then I've also got the standard stock and the 2-point sling. Sometimes I run it in 1-point or 2-point, depending on what I'm doing. Slings tend to get in the way most of the time. I also got a foregrip on there, and you'll probably see that this is taped up. That's because these tend to wear away over time and get in the way. I have tried to take the stock off because I actually like running it in this. I do like running it in this configuration because you get the stability of the suppressor on there without having to, you know, I think the stock's a little bit too long. It kind of needs to be halved in a way. But yeah, run that with 8 magazines in front of it. I don't run all 8 at the same time because it weighs the chest rig down. The front tends to bounce about a lot when I'm running around. So I usually just run 4 + 1 in a little pocket just to keep it a bit closer to your chest so it's not like bouncing around. But these are normally spares with gas blowbacks. Again, if you've been playing airsoft for a long time, you'll know that gas blowback magazines tend to leak and tend to be a pain in the backside. Hence why I've got these here, which are just a set of O-rings seals that allow me to rebuild magazines on the fly. I've done it for a few friends of mine. Sometimes it goes really well and they hold seal and they can play for the day. Other times they don't hold at all. But that's why I've got a set of O-ring seals that I take with me. Also alongside that, might as well say that I've got a set of spare nuts and bolts. Everything you could think of in here, I've kind of just packed into one little case. Also, from part of the spares, I also like to take some silicone lubricant. Obviously, I'm running gas blowback guns. Obviously, it's a good idea to keep them well lubricated when you're running them. Most of the time, you'll need to lubricate them more if you're using HPA, whereas I'm just using the standard gas, which also kind of lubricates the gun as it's cycling. From that, I've obviously got a speed loader here. I know someone, and if they're watching the video, they'll understand what I'm on about, who's got a really fancy electronic speed loader. Always very jealous of him using that, because I'm having to use these old typical plunger ones. But with the magazines I've got, you can only use the plunger speed loaders. There's no other way of loading them up fast, unless you point out in the comments down below. So what else have I covered? So I've covered obviously the magazines and the primary. I've got the secondary here, whether I'd like to call it a primary as well, because I actually use this on its own. I don't actually use this with the MP9. I don't like to run any belt setups. They tend to fall off or get in the way. I've had instances where I've rushed a doorway and they've fell off, so I don't use belt setups anymore. This is a WE High Kappa IREX, also has a tracer unit on the front of there. That's what I use for that. And then I've got two high extended magazines and a single double stack magazine. Two of them are leaking at the minute, I need to fix those. Then I've also got a carry case as well for bits and bobs to go in. And, yeah, I've got a selection of gases here from Avipredator, which is like basically a green gas, I'd say, all the way to red gas, which is what you use in the winter, and then duster gas, which is what you'd use in the heat of summer if you're indoor. Had to use it indoors when it was the heat of summer. Okay, so moving over to this side, I've got a few bits over here. Obviously I've got my main rig. This is a Viper VX buckle up rig. Also got the dangler pouch on here. Got some Mechanics Impact gloves, which are the fingerless gloves. I know it hurts to be shot in the fingers, but I'd rather have that proper feel. I can't get on with full, seal gloves, so I usually just run fingerless gloves. Then I've got the charger pack on the back, so if I am running a big long game day, I can run that backpack and have plenty of storage space for water or gas or BBs or anything else that the people that I'm playing with on the day will need. Also got my main face protection. This is a Dye i5 mask. I wear that because I got shot, had some bad run-ins with this other iPro, where I got shot like just below the eye and it bounced under my iPro, and that was like the end of that, using that half sort of kind of seal, not seal iPro anymore. So I don't use those, I use the Dye i5. I know it's not very cool looking, and a lot of people, especially in the airsoft group that I play with, don't like the Dye mask because it's like associated with speed softers, so they're not a fan of that. But I run it anyway because I don't really want to be shot in the face because it hurts and it's expensive. Moving on, I've got my other eye protection, which I just use for when chrono is called out at the start of the day. So normally when you get to your game day and you're bringing your own stuff, you go to a chrono station to basically have your guns tagged to say that they're safe to use, so they're below the FPS limit for the weight of BBs that you're using. That's why you go to a chrono. That's why I've got one over there. So I usually whack these on because it's always, when you get there in the mornings, it's always all go. You don't really have a lot of time to load everything. Sometimes you can preload your magazines, but I'd prefer not to do that because they can jam. I normally just load one magazine, gas it up, same with the pistol, and then go to chrono, get it done, get them tagged, so then you're all ready to go when the call out for the briefing's done. So there's that. I've also got a selection of BBs that I like to take with me. I've got 2.8 tracers up here that I normally would use these in a bit of a longer distance sort of field. Then I've got my 2.5s down here that I might just go to running BBs that I like to use. To be fair, with some of the sites we've been at so far, the engagement distance is so low that you probably get away with 0.2s. I've heard people even using 0.23s, which is like a new thing. If you've heard of using 2.3s or you use 2.3s yourself, pop a comment down below. I don't know why people use 0.23s, but yeah, that's the thing now. Also have a selection of snoods down here. The reason I've got some snoods is just a bit of neck protection. I don't actually have them over my face because otherwise the ventilation gets cut off in the mask when you have the snood upwards. So I tend to not have the snood up just to stop steaming up. But I have 2 here, so normally the first half of the day I'll wear one, then the second half of the day I'll wear the other, just because you're sweating a lot. Also got over here, I've got some spare parts boxes again. This is just normally full of, there's the adapter for the MP9 to run suppressors and stuff like that. got some smaller attachments, some torch odds and ends, some hopper rubbers and stuff like that, as there is a screwdriver in there with some screw bits in there and Allen keys. Also got over here just a sight that was in my box of things that I take with me, so that's there. Then normally on my head, just a little bit of head protection. I just wear a cap. You can wear a beanie, but I tend to overheat with the beanie on, so I just run the cap. Okay, so moving on from the cap, we've got back here, obviously I've covered the silicone lubricant. Probably wondering what this is. This is actually an ankle support. So when I'm in places like Precinct 13 or Extreme Airsoft, where it's just normal like flooring, like concrete, or like in, because Precinct 13 is like a shopping centre, it just has that normal like tile flooring, so you don't need some rugged ankle support. But for those places like the jail or any other places that are outdoor that have uneven terrain, I'd like to wear ankle supports just in case, because I like to run trainers regardless. That's a big red flag for most people, running trainers, because you can easily roll your ankle or sprain it or whatever. So I tend to wear ankle supports with trainers to stop that, so you still get that upper ankle support from these, so you're not running as much risk, so that's why that's there. Also have another toolkit. As you can see, is a recurring theme with me. I happen to have a lot of stuff go wrong with airsoft guns on game days, so I have a lot of tools, a lot of spares. In this little box here, I normally used to carry my LiPo batteries, but at the moment it just has a few extra odds and ends, like a few extra attachments, batteries, connectors, etc, etc, and then obviously my GoPro is in here as well. I have a long screwdriver because there's always someone at an airsoft game that has an AEG, M4 variant AEG, and the stock is always loose, and it happens to be the screw in the bottom end of the buffer tube. So I take this screwdriver with me because I know it's got a long enough length on it to actually get to the Phillips at the end and tighten that stock, so I always take that with me. Moving on to the top of here, I have some extra odds and ends, like an extended mag holder, I say holder, pouch, for the, could be used for the pistol mags or the MP9 mags. Then I've got a selection of inserts. So these are for the VX buckle up rig. There's a set of 2 triple M4 mag pouches. Also got a pistol holder pouch, but it doesn't really work that well, so I don't use it, but it's there if I need it. And I have a set of quad SMG pistol mag pouches on there as well, so I can run 8 mags if I do need to. Okay, so I think we've covered everything really. But what I normally take to a game day, this is pretty much everything, apart from clothing. So, and another thing actually which I'll cover. So all this here is literally just airsoft kind of related, so I think that pretty much covers the airsoft portion of what you would take to a game day. I know a lot of people would like to see the guns and what you take to a game day, but this is kind of the primary source of what I would take to a game day. I normally have all of this in about 2 bags, so like a gym bag and like a backpack that I'd keep all this in. So this is basically it. You don't need the chronograph. I like to take them with me. You probably don't need all the spares, but I like to take them with me. Like I say, I've been playing for a long time, and you never know what's going to hit you on a game day, especially issues with guns most of the time. But a lot of places you'll probably find are quite nice with helping out with rentals if your guns break and you've been playing a long time. So yeah, apart from this, obviously there's other stuff I could cover, like non-airsoft related. So this is like everything that you would take to a game day that is like your primary stuff. So obviously your kit, your BBs, your guns, your magazines, your gas, so all the things that you need to actually go out and play, especially your eye protection as well. But I haven't covered things like clothing that you would take. So normally it's a good idea, I think, to take a set of spare clothes with you when you finish your airsoft game day. This could be for many reasons. The primary reason is because you're going to be all sweaty and horrible when you finish your game day, and the second reason is you could be also extremely dirty. You could have fell over, it could have been quite an outdoor muddy site. The last thing you want to do is put, you know, your muddy clothes in your mate's car or your own car. So you take a spare set of clothes with you to change into before you leave the site. So normally just kind of freshens you up as well. I like to take a can of deodorant with me as well, just to use throughout the day, so I'm not, you know, stinking out everywhere because obviously you're running around and you're all sweaty. Yeah, what else can I think of? A few selections of hoodies, hats. I obviously take 2 snoods with me, but yeah, this is basically what I take to a game day. This is very unscripted today. I've also been trying to block the dogs from jumping up on the bed. So I've had it a few times now where they've jumped up on the bed and barked at stuff, so if there's some weird cuts in this video, that's why. But I tend to like to do my videos unscripted, because then you just, you know, what you see is what you get, and I'm not really a big fan of scripting videos out. So if it seems very mishmash and not understandable, that would be why. But I think I've covered the majority of everything. I would say if you really wanted to narrow it down and you wanted to jump in your car with a bag, you could probably just take, you know, there's people out there that probably take less than this. There probably is people that take less than this actually, but I waffle on. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video.